Hi again, and welcome to the next chapter in our learning path. Now that we've done the planning phase, it's finally time for the execution. So this is where our plan meets the reality. And in order to steer the project, to see, for example, which activities take a bit longer, which take shorter, are we still on budget, are we over budget, under budget, whatsoever, for these parts of the controlling, we're now going to go into a different view type. So for this, we want to stick to the work breakdown for now and go into the plan actual comparison. We can see there's two different items here, two different project views. We have the comparison of the costs and the comparison of the time. For the time, let's start with that. We can see there's plenty of information for now. We will just ignore this. There's pretty much another way of seeing the content in the inspector. You can open it, you can close it, you can add further information with a new column, but I will leave that to you to discover on your own. So we can already see that there's some status assigned to some of the activities. So over here we see that's red, which is critical, it's behind schedule, and in the inspector we can see why. So right now we see it should have started on the 23rd of October, but since we have the 23rd of October at a later time, we're 3 hours behind schedule right now. But we're just going to ignore that for now. I could basically say, okay, I'll move that to 24th, for example, and we're already back on schedule. But that's not what I wanted to talk about today. I'd like to now go into the fourth tab of the inspector for the selected activity and give it some actual values. This is where we now drift off from the planning and go into the real-life execution, because every plan sounds super nice in the beginning, but once it meets reality, it might differ. So let's say creating and managing the invitation list. We're currently expecting it to start on the 24th of October, but the actual start was just on the 28th. So I can give it an actual start value and move it to Monday. And you can already see that the bars split up into two bars. There's the planned values, and then there's the real values. And since our first activity has moved into the future, we can also see that the other tasks had to move because they're still dependent on one another. So this is one of the things. I can also say I give it an actual end. So we expected it to take 3 days, but it only took us 2 days. So I can say actual end is on 29th of October. And already we see that because we've given it an actual end, it always says, hey, right now we assume that since you're giving it this end, we assume that it's complete. That's one way to work with these plan actual values. Another way would be to go for the complete and the actual work or the remaining work. If I say we have a task that's supposed to start on the 30th of October and it takes until the 5th, we can say that it's already completed 20% and the remaining work is a bit less. So right now it's 3.2 days, but we want to say it only takes 2 days. So it then automatically shifts. It says, okay, actual work, we already gave it 0.8 days. So it also changes the completion rate. No, actually you already completed it by 28.57% to be correct here. So we can also add a reported on date and give some further information like the results. We can see the expected, and we can also see the planned values. So therefore, this allows you to go into the execution a bit more smoothly, really understand how your project works out in the end. This is then truly important when you're talking to your stakeholders and they want to see, hey, can you tell me how far we are with project activity ABCD? So for example, how far are we at establishing a clear RSVP system? We can then immediately say, oh yeah, we expected it to start on the 29th, but actually it started a bit later. However, we were even faster and we're still managing to fulfill this task on schedule. And you would say, yes, great, that's a good job you did. So that's the plan actual comparison of time. Now let's go over to the costs. Over here we can see a cost analysis of basically the budgeting that we've done before. But here we can really see it as a table view for each of the different activities, groups and phases. So as we might remember a few videos back, we assigned a budget of 3,000 euros to the preparation phase. And then we can always compare, for example, the planned costs that we had. If you don't remember what planned, actual and expected costs are, I recommend you to go back to the video on the finance inspector. So for now, I just want to mention, okay, we can see the planned costs are that. And in comparison to the budget, the planned costs are having a balance of minus 50,000. But the actual costs mean that we're still on budget, we're even 50 euros over budget. And the same goes for the expected costs, where we see a difference between the expected costs and the balance. And then we can go down to the different activities and see which activity had which cost assigned to it. So therefore, truly easy to understand. And this is another way to then see the plan versus the actual reality. So that should be all for plan versus reality. You can see there's two ways of viewing it, and the most important thing is the actual values tab in the inspector. See you next time.